The Orange bounced back strong against Miami after losing to NC State at home. We'll give you our thoughts. Also, that game's fan feedback. Then Joe will preview Syracuse's next game against UNC as they come into the Dome Wednesday, February 21st at 7. Let's go.
Make some noise, Orange fans. It's time for the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to episode 60 of the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. If you could please subscribe to whatever platform you listen on, that will really help us out. We'll be in your library as soon as an episode is published. We're trying to give you the most efficient, relative, and current show possible for Syracuse basketball and football. If you like it, please share this show with your friends and family. A 5-star review wouldn't hurt either. Thanks in advance for that. All right, Syracuse improved to 18-9 overall and 7-7 in the ACC, beating the Hurricanes at Miami 62-55 in front of 6,879 fans. That's cute. Under 7,000. Frank Howard led the Orange with 18 points. He was 100% from the free throw line, though it was 1-1. He was still 100%. He also finished with only 1 turnover and 6 assists. Brissett had another stellar game, of course, finishing with 16 points. He was 50% from the field, 2 for 6 from three-point land, and he never got to the foul line. It's amazing that we won that game and Brissett never getting to the foul line once. He did manage another double-double with 12 rebounds. That makes his 10th of the season. Mark the Magician, as he'll be known to me from now on, with his behind-the-back pass to Brissett for the lay-in, was my notable for the game, a game-high 11 points. Doesn't sound like much, but his presence on the court just adds that extra spark on both sides of the ball. He's just one of those guys, it seems to me, he's just a great teammate, and he just gives it 100% all the time. So he's my notable. Battle struggled before hitting a key 3. He did finish with 13 points. He only went 4 for 14 from the floor, but like we said, that was picked up by Howard and Brissett. The Orange shot 48% from the floor as a team and did a great job defending the 3, holding Miami to 22.5% from behind the arc. They also held Miami to 33.9% from field goal shooting and out-rebounded them by 37-29. So there's your box score. Bullet points, fun facts for this game. Syracuse holds an 18-8 advantage in the all-time series over Miami. The Orange shot 63.6%, 14 of 22 from the field in the second half, and only held Miami to 35.3% and just 25% in the second half from three-point range. Syracuse limited Miami to a season-low 34% shooting. That's fantastic. The defense was just stellar in this game. Syracuse has averaged 48% shooting from the field in the last 4 games. That's the best stretch we've had all year. There's a loss in there, but still the best we've had all year. The Orange's RPI, according to realtimерpi.com, is 40, and the strength of schedule is at 27 currently. Tyus Battle's free throws for the last 4 games, 32 of 36, 88.8%. Just fantastic. Didn't get a lot of free throws, but he's still nailing them, and he does what he can. So, Joe, let's hear it from you. Give us your game rundown. Let me have your grade, and of course, as always, during a win, your player of the game. Oh, real quick. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry. The Orange's RPI was at 39 before the loss against NC State, went up to 50, right?
Right.
You said last week, I'm just giving you your credit here. You said last week a win at Miami would erase that loss. And statistically, according to the RPI, it all but did erase that loss. So you were correct. Came back down 10 RPI points. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
Go ahead.
Appreciate it. Again, something else that I mentioned was basically from last time was the defense, and that's going to be the biggest thing for me. Offensively, they did shoot well. I think we're starting to see a little bit of an evolution of what our offense is starting to become. It's getting a little bit better. It's having to change because the teams basically know we just have Howard, Brissett, and Battle. So as you can see, the last couple of games, like I was telling you yesterday, every time one of those three calls for a pick, that guy, they just come off and they just double team him, and they just let Chukwu get roll, and they force you to make a play, and they're forcing Merrick and Moyer and Sidibe and Chukwu to make plays. And yesterday, Dolce did that, and that's exactly what we need. If we can get that kind of stuff from a Dolce and Moyer and get that defensive presence from those guys, then we're gonna have a chance to possibly, get into this tournament and win some of the games that we need to win. As far as the defense goes, like I said, it was holding like 7 from 31. So they didn't shoot very well, and their offense is stagnant most of the time. They had to rely on 2 freshman guards with Walker and Likes, and they played good. They played hard, but you could just tell that there's something missing with Bruce Brown being hurt, and that you could see that there was some truth to what the coach Jim Larinaga was talking about in that article that I read last week. So this is a game that I thought we had a chance to win. There's a couple times there where you heard some "Let's Go Orange" chants, so you know that there were some Syracuse fans in the house, and it wasn't a full house by any means. So, it was a great win. Getting another road win, quadrant 1 road win, and I think if I had to give them a grade, I'm going to give them an A. Again, I don't give out A pluses unless they're perfect, but Battle could have played a little bit better. We could have not had a couple turnovers. But overall, our defense, I think, won us that game. We won rebounding. We didn't shoot enough free throws really to matter, and I think we lost the turnover battle. We did have 4 steals and 7 blocks, which is big. But overall, that defense is what won the game for us yesterday. So I would probably say I'd give my player of the game. I'd give to Dolce, just because if he doesn't do what he does, then we probably lose that game, actually. He played really good. He hit some jumpers. He hit a clutch jumper near the end. He had that offensive rebound with that behind-the-back pass. Went up and hit 2 clutch free throws. So, I would give it to him. But Brissett wasn't too far behind. So I'll tell you that.
Yeah. All right. As far as my game breakdown, playing a team on the road in the ACC is tough. I don't care who it is. The Pittsburgh game was tough, okay? Pittsburgh stinks. It's just always a challenge.
Well, it's because it's a zoo. Zoos stink.
Yeah, true. But like we've said in the past, it's been a petting zoo for the past 2 years. Yeah. So you can get close to those animals. So, there was one point in time where the 15-0 run that Syracuse went on that really helped them get ahead. I think they got up by like 12 points at one point, and then it was just a couple threes, bring it back down to 6, ended up tying it again. This team has showed its resilience, and to show resilience on the road like that is impressive to me. I think, a lot of times when teams blow a lead like that, they get frustrated. They make a lot of mistakes. You had Likes. I like Likes, by the way, and I like
Likes.
I think he's a fantastic player, but he's like a freaking mosquito. I mean, and literally, Howard had to swat him away. Because the dude is just like all over you. He does not leave you alone. So he could have, my point is that Howard could have been just, if he was a little flustered, Likes could have gotten the better of Battle. And Likes, by the way, did lead his team in scoring with 14. So He was effective, and the guy hits the deck all the time. And it's because he's just so small, and he's going through a forest of redwoods, and he ends up on the floor. So Syracuse did a great job pulling out a win. It was a team effort. Everybody stepped up. For Battle, kind of had a slow game, and I feel like Howard, he was excellent, only 1 turnover. I mean, I gave him an A, Joe. I'm with you. I started with an A-, and then I looked and I really thought about it. And with Battle not really leading that team like he has all year, I had bumped him up to an A. So Battle, by the way, he has not scored that amount of points since he scored 13. Well, he finished the game with 13. It was his lowest points total, scoring 13 again against Notre Dame. And we lost that game because no one stepped up. So, that was the difference. My player of the game, it was between Brissett and Mark, and so you chose Mark. I'll give it to Brissett. I thought he was excellent. 16 points. He did not get to the free throw line, but for us to win a game without him getting to the free throw line, I think that shows a lot about where our defense was in this past game, and it's excellent. So
yeah,
12,
well, I mean, he usually goes to the line because he drives and doesn't make it, and yesterday he was driving and making it. So.
True. Yeah.
I mean, there's that one that bounced up off that rim that went right back down.
Yeah.
He had that nasty dunk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was effective in driving and finishing yesterday. So
he was in his 10th double-double of the season. He's averaging 14.7 points and 9 rebounds per game on the season. Average a double-double for the season would pair him with none other than Carmelo Anthony, who remains the only freshman in Syracuse history to do that. So, that says a lot. He's good. Yeah. He's good. As Mike Waters at Syracuse.com, he's scary good. So,
well, I mean, he's almost averages a double-double. He fills the stat sheet as far as blocks and steals. And I think statistically right now he's percentage-wise our best three-point shooter on our team. So
that's it for me on the game overview. I think it was much needed.
Good win, back on the bubble.
Yeah, awesome. I would say, I guess we're on the bubble, but if you look at it,
well, I guess I shouldn't say back on the bubble. We've been on the bubble.
Yeah, we're on the good side of the bubble right now. So
yesterday I went through and looked at a lot of the standings from some of the better conferences, and there's Power 5 conferences. You go look at the Big 12 and some of these other conferences, and there's so many, just like the ACC, so many teams right around what our record is, just stacked down the middle. 18-8, 17-9, 18-9. Like, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be what you do from here on out, and in most likely the ACC conference tournament is going to mean a lot this year. So.
We haven't won an ACC game since we've been in the ACC. I think it's time to
buck that trend. Let's go.
To kill that, and we've got being in the middle of the ranks in the ACC puts us at a pretty even keeled game. For our first one, and if we can stay in the top 10, we've talked. You get the first round bye, so. Right. It could be a good matchup. The first game could be a really even matchup. So,
well, and it could help if we can get some wins with the quadrant wins because everything's going to be listed as a neutral game, so that'll help.
Exactly, right. Yeah, and just one more note from me, and then I'll give you the final thought, Joe. Miami's RPI after the Syracuse loss at home is still only at 37, which is better than ours, and their strength of schedule is at 56. So that non-conference schedule that they had going undefeated, it really helped them out because that's their third loss in a row, I believe.
So, well, yeah, it is. And when you look at the fact that they have their best player that got injured that's not going to be back anytime soon, they're probably going to lose a couple more. And, you can argue, as far as yesterday goes, Miami was looked at as a team that was in. And
right,
as far as looking at the resumes today, Syracuse's looks better than theirs.
Ours is better. It absolutely is. And their strength, their RPI is a little better, but that's due to the non-conference schedule, and because their strength of schedule is double ours. So,
yeah.
There's that. Any final thoughts, Joe, on Miami?
No, just a good needed win.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Miami in the mirror. All right, Joe, fan feedback for this week. We will start here with Don. By the way, go to facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast. Join the 1,200 plus people in the community there and give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Real quick, before we get started, we want to give you the most up-to-date information that we have at the time of this recording for the quadrant wins and losses. Joe has put it together. So how do we look, bud?
About looking at currently after the games last night, today our RPI is 40th, strength of schedule 27th, and with a record of 18-9, 7-7 in the ACC, and right now as far as our quadrant wins look, we are 4-0 in quadrant 4 games. Eastern Michigan, they won and they moved up a bunch of spots to turn into a tier 3 win which brings us to Tier 3, where we are 7-1, and currently that one loss is our game against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's fallen down to the 160s in the RPI, so they need to get back up into to 135 or better for that to go back up to a Tier 2. But currently, that's looking like that's our worst loss so far this year. Moving to Tier 2, we are 4-3 currently, so it's good to see that we still have a winning record all the way up through Tier 2. And Tier 1, right now, our record is 3-5 with those.
It's not bad.
Those wins being home against Buffalo, who's been holding strong around 28-30 in their RPI, and the two recent road games against Louisville and Miami yesterday. So doesn't look that bad as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we have 3 more Tier 1 games and 1 more Tier 2 game on the docket so far, and I mean, it looks good to me because it shows that you didn't play the weakest schedule. I mean, obviously with our strength schedule being 27th, but only having 4 Tier 1 wins, only being 4-0, I imagine there's going to be a lot of teams in the bubble where that number will be a little bit bigger. So it shows the committee that we didn't just pad our schedule with easy wins and Tier 3 wins. Like I said, 7-1, and Georgia Tech, although it being a bad or worse loss this year, losing a game on the road, like you said earlier, isn't really the worst thing. It does happen, and again, still having a winning record of 4-3 and being 7-8 in Tier 1 and Tier 2 games. So again, that number's only going to go up as far as amount of games played. If it stays the way that it is, you're talking about 19 games, 19 Tier 1 and Tier 2 games, and only getting 4 wins out of Tier 4. Not too bad. So we'll wait and see, and obviously the wins will help us because obviously we got good teams coming up. 3 out of the 4 ranked teams in the ACC.
Nothing will really hurt us going forward too tremendously, but we do need to win.
But you just can't lose them all.
Right, exactly. Okay, all right. Well, there's your quad breakdown. On with fan feedback. Don says, pretty sad that Howard is supposed to be the point guard and only has 1 assist. Don, what are you looking at? I don't even know what he's talking about.
Well,
he had 1 turnover and 6 assists.
Yeah, and traditionally, the point guard does get assists, but if you've listened to some of Jim Boeheim's press conferences or even really paid attention, we really only have 3 guys that can score, and most of our offense is those guys taking it off the dribble. So Boeheim's talked about it. We don't really usually get a lot of assists because of just the way that our offense is. We don't really move it around like that because there's only certain people that usually take the shots, and usually it's driving and trying to get fouled and going to the free throw line. So,
yeah. Steve says still NIT bound, but if they can go 9-9 in the conference, Joe, we talked about that, and win a game or 2 in the ACC tournament, maybe they get in. But let's remember, Boeheim hasn't won a single game yet in the ACC tourney. The past has nothing to do with what happens this year. It's not indicative of them losing, that's for sure. 9-9. If we could finish at 500, Joe, that would give us for the last 4 games. That would be exactly what we're talking about, getting to 20 wins.
Yeah.
So before the tournament.
Well, where you are, I mean, yes, it is tough to judge, and I know that I threw something out there where you can compare one year to the other, but really every year is a little bit different, and really just depends on the other teams, and if certain teams that are automatically locks, if they lose their conference, stuff like that, people steal bubbles, but just looking at it, if you go by that theory of going 2-2 and getting to 20-11 or whatever, and going 9-9 in the ACC. I mean, we went 10-8 in the ACC last year, but we were 18-13 going into the ACC tournament. So this year it's a little bit different. But if we win 2 games, I mean, one of those games is going to be coming from a really good team. So, and who knows? What if we get 2 from a really good team and we lose at Boston College? I mean, you really never know what those 2 games are going to be. But I know.
Does it matter, Joe? Does it matter? Do you think it matters which 2 they are? With 3 ranked teams left out of the 4.
I'm going to say no. Yeah, 3 ranked teams, and right now North Carolina's RPI is 4, Duke's is 6, and Clemson is 7.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So we're playing 4, 6, and 7 as far as RPIs.
It's only going to help strength the schedule too.
Oh, strength of schedule is going to go skying up even when we lose, or if we lose. But like I said, those are clear tier 1 games, and like I think we beat Duke. Like I think that we're in. I mean, you might argue that. I mean, you just never know because none of those are going to be bad losses. Those are 3 quadrant 1 games and then 1 quadrant 2 game. And who knows if Boston College can go on a little bit of a run, that might end up being a quadrant 1 win too if they can get down to under 75. So, yeah, I don't know. There shouldn't be people that are negative like that. I mean, just let the games play out.
Especially after a win, you've got it. That, like Joe said last episode, a win against Miami at Miami would erase the NC State loss, and it absolutely did. Statistically, it did, which is great.
And it looks like a better win.
Exactly, it totally does. Fran says, still alive. Yes, Fran, still alive, in my opinion, in your opinion, in Joe's opinion. Anthony says, I think we go into Wednesday night and stun UNC, and honestly, I already chalked up a loss against Cameron Indoor, but gosh, I hope Cuse proves me wrong. I said at the beginning of the year, our biggest win of the year will come at home against UNC. I hate predicting those things, but, because the chance of being wrong, you're wrong, but in any event, if they do pull it off, it would be huge. It would be huge. Going into Cameron Indoor, Anthony's right. That is going to be a hostile environment and a team that's hot. UNC's hot too, but I think Duke is a better team, even though that UNC beat them earlier. I think Duke's a better team. So, what do you think?
They have more potential.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see. Mick says, I know 9-9 in conference sounds better than 8-10, but maybe we get one at UNC. Well, at home against UNC, they play down to the level of their teams they play. That's kind of true. He brings up a point that Syracuse does kind of either play down or up to the level that they're usually playing. We've only been blown out twice. Once against Virginia, once against Kansas, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we've been in every other game. So yeah, he makes a good point. Let's see. Beverly, wow, they're looking good. Are they looking good or what? I don't know, Joe. Tell Beverly. Are they looking good or what?
They're looking good, Beverly.
All right. David says, UNC is overrated, go Orange. Davis, UNC is overrated, go Orange. I've said they were overrated, but the past few games I watched UNC, man, they're clicking, dude. They're clicking.
Yeah, they are.
And Joel Berry is just... I mean, he's magnificent. And, Luke May is just, he's consistent.
Yeah, we'll get into that here shortly.
All right. Pinson, he's nasty. So, anyway, it's going to be a tough game. And exactly. We'll get into that in a second. John says, nice win, guys. Shari says, great win. Absolutely. Different Anthony says, love it. Now play with the same intensity on Wednesday night at home against UNC. I think that's going to draw a big crowd too, Joe. It's a 7 o'clock game on a Wednesday. Oh, yeah. Ranked team coming in. It's going to draw a big crowd. They said earlier in the year that UVA was going to be, the biggest crowd of the season, but this has potential of that was on a Saturday though, but this has potential of rivaling that. So we'll just have to see. Nate says, got to keep the momentum going. See you Wednesday. Everybody's let go of the win and focus in on Wednesday. That's what I got out of social media. And so, what else can you say? Any final thoughts on the fan feedback, Joe?
No, it was pretty good. There's still a couple people that think we're going to go NIT, but I think that's just people that just assume we're going to lose certain games because of a number next to a team name or the team name itself. So, yeah. We're still alive. As long as we have a game on our schedule, we're still alive.
Yeah, the focus seems to be for the majority of the folks on social media, though, that they're looking ahead to Wednesday. Everybody's pretty excited, and they know, and I believe, that Syracuse has a shot. All right, Joe, as we've been talking, North Carolina comes into the Dome Wednesday, February 21st. The game is at 7 o'clock. What do we expect?
I think it's going to be a good one, Sean, like we just talked about a little bit, because I was going to say the same exact thing, that right now North Carolina, when they're talking about being overrated, right now they're not looking it. So,
no, they were, though. They were at one point. But they were a little bit.
A little bit. They had a little hiccup there, but looking back at some of the last couple games, they've won 5 straight games.
Time to lose.
Well, 2 of them were at NC State at Louisville. They won at Louisville the last game they played, and they look good. So coming to the Dome, I don't think it's probably not going to affect them. They right now, the last game against Louisville, they had 3 guys with 30-plus minutes, or sorry, 4 guys with 30-plus minutes, and then another guy with 29. So there was no one off the bench that even put in more than 10 minutes. Like you said, Joel, they're playing 3 seniors, 2 juniors, and they're one of the better rebounding and three-point shooting teams in the ACC, and that's what really scares me. So they got a very experienced team that play most of the minutes. Great three-point shooters, Joe Barry. They're used to playing with each other, so they can pass the ball around. They can find those seams in the zone. They're going to be able to get it to the middle. There's going to be guys that are going to be able to make that shot or make the pass out, and their defense really isn't that bad either. So
great offensive rebounding too, by the way.
Yeah, well, and that's my thing. And when you look at their team, they're really not that. I mean, Kenny Williams, the junior there, he's a decent rebounder for his size. Pinson 6'6", he's a good rebounder for his size. Luke Meg 6'8", Cameron Johnson. I mean, you're looking at the tallest guys out there are 6'8", 6'9". So they're athletic. Luke May is a strong guy. He gets in there. He's sturdy. He's going to be able to definitely get lower and be able to push those guys around. We'll at least be able to get good position against Chukwu and Sidibe because he is just a lot stronger than him.
Yeah, he can shoot the 3 too.
Yeah, and he can shoot the 3. Joel Berry can shoot the 3. Cameron Johnson, the graduate transfer from Pittsburgh, actually. So he was shooting 3s and making them against us back a couple years ago when Pittsburgh was pretty good with Jamel Artis and those boys. So he's used to playing against the zone. He can get in the middle and make that jumper at the free throw line and shoot 3s. So they have a very experienced team with, like I said, with the 3 seniors and 2 juniors as starters, and 5 in a row. They're looking good, and it's going to be tough. So we got to hope that we get that crowd, and hopefully our guys can continue to evolve that offense to where they can put more points on the board. Otherwise, it could be a rough one.
Yeah, I mean it could, but as always, Joe, the key factor in all these games is how is Syracuse going to play defense?
Right. Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is, obviously the defense, we're going to have to hold them to a certain amount of points because there's only so many points we are going to be able to score, but also just the way that we do play and against the way that they play. I mean, we just talked about it. Defense was stopping the 3-point shot because you know that they can shoot 3s. You know that they can board, so we have to board, and that's one of those things that we talk about that we have to win anyway. And they play not a lot of guys just like us, so – and what do we like to do? Get to the free throw line. Mm-hmm. So if we can get some guys in foul trouble, get to the free throw line, and we can keep the boards relatively even and then just keep the turnovers down or fairly even and just don't allow them to score a lot of the points off our turnovers or get second chance points. I mean, that's the little stuff that we talk about. That's the stuff that we have to do.
I wish I would have pulled this up just for you to maybe you have it. What are their average second chance points? Because even Louisville last night, I watched that game. They just control. Louisville's a good team. They controlled that entire game from start to finish at Louisville, and they were just strong. The offensive rebounding, was phenomenal. They were putting them back right at the rim, and the amount of second chance points they had just last night, off the top of my head, was impressive to say the least. And that's the kind of team you're dealing with, a well-coached team, a team that's experienced. They've been playing with each other for a while. So, it helps. It's a big deal.
Yeah, well, those are the teams that you don't like to play against. But again, even though we're young, I think this defense has grasped onto what Jim Boeheim wants to do with this defense better than last year's and the previous years. So I do think that, again, just like every other team that's played us this year, I think that they're going to find that that this 2-3 zone is a little bit different and more difficult than it has been in the past couple of years.
Yeah, because of the length, and we've talked about that. And
because of the length, and just because of just the fact that just people like Matthew Moyer and like Dolce. They're sponges. They're all young. They don't
have bad habits yet.
Exactly.
Especially Marek, which is
right.
Marek, by the way. It's Marek.
Okay, Marek. And again, they just the nuances and the things that Boeheim wants that defense to do. This team just seems to do it better. And again, you said we are a little bit taller and lengthier, so it's just going to come down to that
limiting
playing
mistakes.
The defense, limiting the mistakes, but those things like North Carolina's strengths. So again, it's going to be a better defense, but again, North Carolina, you're talking about seniors and juniors. They're definitely Pinson is stronger than anybody down there. Luke May is stronger than anybody down there. So physically wise and mentally wise and maturity and experience, that's going to be North Carolina. But we know what they're good at, so we know what we have to stop. So
exactly,
if we outboard them, get out to the 3-point shooters, and we can get to the free throw line and maybe get some of their guys in foul trouble so they can't play such crazy defense.
That's Joe's game plan. That's your game. That sounds like a good game plan. I like it.
Well, that's what you have to win. If they win what they're good at, then we lose. So those are the things you got to look at. Does
Syracuse continue their stretch currently at 4 games of 48% from the field shooting offensively? Can they keep that going against an experienced UNC team?
Probably not.
Probably not. Boy, he's full of optimism, folks.
I'm
just playing with you.
They're a good, experienced team.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll have to see. I think it's important, and very important, getting to the line early in this game, or at least getting the foul. If it's on the floor, if it's not while they're shooting, it's just it just gotta get them, make them nervous about contacting you, and being able to drive the lane is gonna be key. And there's some big guys in there, so it's gonna be tough.
Well, just to throw some numbers out there too, Ken Pomeroy, almost forgot. He has North Carolina 7th and Syracuse at 45. On his website, he also does adjusted offense, adjusted defense rankings or metrics to rank the offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, that kind of stuff. And North Carolina, he has ranked 7th offensively and 29th defensively. And for us, he has us.
Oh boy, I don't even want
109th offensively and 12th defensively. So
I think that's fair. He's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It's pretty fair. But that also is all the other combined games earlier in the season where our offense might not be where it is now.
True. Everybody's getting better, though, Joe.
Yeah, you're right. And North Carolina having the schedule that they've had and being 29th still in the defense, that just shows you where they're at as far as the fact that they're good on the defensive rebounding side, too. They don't allow a lot of second chance points, and that's where we get some of our points as well. So they're 29th defensively. It's not just like they can score. They're big and they're strong and they're experienced. Again, like we talked about, juniors and seniors. So that's why I say that I don't think that we're going to be able to keep up the 48% shooting. But I mean, if they do, then obviously it's going to be good, and I think we'll have a good chance to win. But again, I just think the key is defense. Defense, try to get to the line and try to make it ugly.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that's it for episode 60, gang. We appreciate you listening. Again, if you like the show, please share it with friends and family. And we appreciate every ounce of that. We also appreciate if you go to facebook.com/Cuse Nation Podcast. Give us the thumbs up there. And we are on Twitter now and then. At Cuse Nation Show is our Twitter handle.
Tweet.
And we do our best, but a lot of times we forget. So we're getting better. We're getting better. All right, that's it. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.
You just heard the Cuse Nation Podcast with Sean and Joe.